As you might have noticed, the last 3 months have been one of the slowest in terms of uploading videos in the history of 434. It was partially correlated with 6 meetups that I organized recently, but there is a very profound and important reason for that long break, and it's because I was given an opportunity to go through a number of lessons regarding the power of manifestation and belief in the metaphysical. Lessons that changed my life. I'm currently going through one of the most important and difficult phases of my earthly existence, and it is accompanied by an incredible number of interdimensional interactions and alterations that you need to learn about for your own benefit. It should help you to create the life you want in the same way as I was able to create mine. This video will contain a number of unbelievable examples of supernatural interventions, and it is one of these videos where you will have to occasionally look at the screen. The unintended and unexpected break that I had to take from writing videos, combined with the cost of organizing the meetups in several countries, meant for me an enormous amount of money and energy, and it would be very helpful if you could join Patreon or Subscribestar to support me. You can donate through one of the methods listed on the screen and in the video description. There's also the option to schedule a chat with me if you want to talk about anything that's problematic for you, or you can buy merchandise. Your support is now more important than ever. Thank you very much for your generosity. You might remember that 2 years ago I recorded a video about how machine elves changed my flight date and how it cost me $1,000. Back then I said that it was the best example of machine elf alteration of a reality that I have ever heard of or experienced. Turns out it was nothing compared to what I'm about to present to you now. I was told back then that I'm not supposed to worry about the $1,000 I lost, and I didn't think about it too much. Machine Elf said so, who am I not to listen? There's always a good reason. 6 months ago, while flying out of Manchester Airport, I was standing at a window observing my plane taxiing towards the gate, and suddenly I witnessed the belt loader vehicle crashing into the side of the plane's fuselage and effectively grounding it. As a result of this, my flight got delayed by 4.5 hours and I received compensation from the airline. Guess how much? $1,000. This is the reason why I was told 2 years earlier that I didn't have to worry about it. This intervention was planned in advance a long time ago. One winter morning, while staying at my dad's house, I went out to the garden where he keeps a big metal oil barrel for rainwater. My dad is a crazy bird lover who knows all the names, he's constantly watching and feeding them, recording their singing and so on. That morning, when I went outside and looked at the frozen surface of the water in the barrel, I realized that there's a tiny bird sculpture on top of it. I have no idea how it was created, but it was there as if my dad's energy and thoughts had creative power over his surroundings. I'd never seen anything like it. One time I was on my way to a supermarket and I was thinking for the first time in years about one of my logos for a party that I organized when I was a DJ in the 90s. 5 minutes later, when I went inside the shop and sat down on a bench, right next to me, the very same logo appeared in form of a sticker. It was the same design and the same colors, and something I came up with long time ago, with elements that are impossible to appear randomly. Especially that it happened within a minute of me thinking about it after more than 2 decades of it being created. You can clearly see the striking resemblance and how it was manifested. A funny example of reality projection is what happened when I recently binge-watched the whole Breaking Bad saga on Netflix while editing videos. When I was almost done, one day I was crossing the road and saw one of the series' characters, Gus Fring, sitting behind the wheel of a car. The same clothes, the same glasses, hairdo, nonchalant face expression, 100% Gustavo. I couldn't believe my eyes and I kept staring at him shocked. But that's not all. About 2 days later, I was on a train, and as I was walking through one of the cars, I saw no other but Mike Ementraut. Same bald head, same nose, tired eyes, and old jacket. Even the same voice, although speaking in different language. If that wasn't enough, around the same time after finishing watching the show, I was doing something in my kitchen, and I realized that I'm looking at a flask filled with chemicals, and right in front of me it said, meth. For those of you who don't know this TV drama, it was all about making homegrown crystal methamphetamine. The flask is what they used. What's more bizarre is that I've never paid attention to this bottle before, so I couldn't know what it said. But somehow, all of it was manifested with my thoughts and emotions in a matter of few days. Those were all some examples of manifestation, but sometimes there are more important forms of supernatural reality interactions in form of interventions. When I was a teenager, one winter afternoon I was waiting at a bus stop standing in front of a bank entrance, and I suddenly heard a voice telling me to move one step to the side. Once I did it, within a few seconds, a giant block of ice the size of me fell exactly where I was standing a moment earlier. Had I not listened to that message to make that tiny step, I would have gotten killed right there and then. That's how serious these interventions can get sometimes. Another important case of this earthly realm helping me secretly was the moment I was riding an electric scooter really fast down the road a few months ago, when suddenly I heard a loud, unspecified sound behind me. Half a second after I turned my head to see what it was, a giant beetle hit my head really hard, exactly where my eye was a moment ago. I was going so fast, it could have seriously injured my eye. I never identified what that loud sound was and where it came from, but it saved me. After the Canadian meetup, I spoke to a couple who told me an amazing story of how the entities intervened in their life when it became a necessity, unbeknownst to them. Diane and Keir in the summer of 2018 took a large dose of mushrooms. At that stage they were together, but Keir was strongly against any form of legalized relationship, and during that trip, loving and powerful entities showed up to convince him that he shouldn't waste any more time and go to Diane right now in that very moment and propose to her. And he had to ask for permission from her higher self first, and he proposed. Mushrooms changed their life forever, altering Keir's belief system. They got married and have been a happy couple ever since, recently celebrating their 6-year anniversary. Amazing story of machinal intervention. When I asked them to tell me the story again over the phone, they sent me something interesting that was manifested in the same way as my dad's ice sculpture. They found a vegetable that grew into the shape of a duck in their garden, and nobody can explain how. Keir works with plant medicine, and Diana is an energy worker, and if anyone is curious to reach out to them, there's a website link in the description of the video. A very fascinating method of machine elves using the earthly realm to communicate with me is through song lyrics. Very often when taking mushrooms, I listen to music, and once I ask the entities a particular question, instead of offering me an answer, my hearing suddenly becomes very focused on the lyrics that I currently listen to on my headphones, and they become the perfect answer to my question. There is no way for this to be a coincidence, as my playlist is set to random and I never know what the lyrics are in a song until I start concentrating on it. It happens all the time. Just to give an example, when I asked the question about what type of business I need to start now not to rely on income from 434 donations anymore, I was told to concentrate on the metaphysical because that's who I was and what I loved. And as they said this, in the headphones, I heard a song called Surrender by Pedal Pushers. And the lyrics were, "Trust in your desires, holding back has made you tired." It is one of many examples when something like this happens. Do this psychedelic experiment yourself and see if it works like that too in your case. This is a kind of a more visible and profound type of reality interacting with you, but you can observe these on a daily basis in your life when you start paying attention to your thoughts. Very often when you have a negatively affected mindset or when you are in low frequency, the world around you will try to make you aware of it by forcing you to drop objects, or there will be objects falling to the ground near you. I've noticed that long time ago when once I was entering my room and having extreme negative thoughts, and suddenly my blue screen that I used to record videos with, out of nowhere, fell on my foot from the ceiling. It was an extremely painful reminder to keep high frequency at all times. Pay attention to what you're thinking when something like this happens. When you hear a loud, unexpected noise, or when a bottle slips out of your hands and breaks on the floor in front of you. I found this to be the case with many spiritually inclined people, not just me. My favorite example is turbulence during a flight. I wasn't supposed to talk about this, but as I was writing this video mid-air, I was reminded I have to mention this. For 10 years, I've been observing how every time when I start getting negative, pointless thoughts, the aircraft starts shaking. As soon as I go back to high frequency, the plane leaves the area of turbulence. I know how crazy it sounds, but I have been doing it for a decade, and it happens every time without exception. Things reached a whole new level recently once I started traveling to meetups in the last few months. When I got into my hotel room in Amsterdam in the middle of the night, I realized that I forgot my USB-C cable for my 2 cell phones that I use to communicate everything with everyone in the 434 community. I realized that the whole meetup might be in jeopardy if I do not charge my phones overnight, and as I was thinking about this, I sat down on the floor to go through my backpack again, and as I looked up from the bed's perspective, I realized that I'm looking at the USB-C cable that someone left hanging under the table. Had this been any other area of the room, there is no way I could have seen it. And it could have been any cable, but no, it was the exact type of a cable that I needed to charge my phones with. I had no idea why it was there and who left it behind, but it was a clear example of interdimensional reality intervention. But one of the main two reasons why I'm making this video is what happened with the Canadian meeting in Toronto. What most people don't know is that 434 meetups are very expensive and some of them need to be financed with my own funds. The money from the tickets covers only a part of the expenses, so at the end of the 2-month tour I realized that the Canadian meetup will cost me at least $1,000. At this point I already had to spend a lot of my own money and energy to organize all of it, and it felt like a bit too much to go to freezing Canada in December. I was really exhausted since that was the last meetup, and I felt like it's not a good idea for me to fly, and I was thinking about canceling the event. As I was about to do it, I said out loud, "I will go if someone donates $1,000, and I went to sleep. The next day, as I was going through my Instagram inbox, I decided to check a message that had been sitting there for 2 days, and I opened it because it came from a girl who had a very intriguing name. It was the only message out of a dozen other ones in my inbox, and as you can guess, inside of it was an offer for her to donate $1,000, as she and her boyfriend really wanted to see me in Toronto and knew that I was hesitating whether I should go or not. I couldn't believe it, so we got on the phone and within minutes the money was in my account and now I could go to Canada. In fact, they ended up donating $1,400 and I really wish I could give you their names and show their faces, but they asked me to keep their identity anonymous. An absolutely incredible and unbelievable intervention. But if that wasn't enough, once I got to Amsterdam before the Canadian trip, a really cool guy named Valentine, out of nowhere, without me asking anything, said that if I needed money to go to Canada, he could donate 500 euros. These three amazing people were manifested so that a very important meeting can take place, as it turned out that the Canadian trip was one of the most important meetups I've ever organized. And it contained an enormous amount of lessons, and I couldn't be happier that I met these beautiful souls who made it happen. Even on my last day, right before going to the airport, I was driven to Niagara Falls by an amazing girl who offered it out of nowhere a day before. I wanted to go there even before I came to Canada, but I knew I didn't have enough time, but somehow she made it happen. Another manifestation. Words can't express my gratitude, and in the name of everyone who made all of it happen, I want to say big thank you. But the main reason I decided to make this video and why I disappeared for so long is this most incredible example of interdimensional intervention combined with manifestation. On March 28, 2022, I had a serious discussion with Machine Elves about the difficult position I was in. After years of offering help and support to the 434 community and sacrificing my time and energy for others, I was exhausted and I was starting to feel trapped in a life that was partially assigned to me and partially what I created for myself. I had been complaining to the entities about this for a few years, but they always responded that I have a job to do and that my personal situation is a result of the lessons that I had to go through. But this time their answer was different. I said that I needed help with what I was told to do and with my personal and emotional situation, and that my life was becoming more of a chore and a burden rather than a metaphysical mission of development and love, joy, and hope. I said I need someone who can support me for a change, someone who knows what I'm going through and someone who can help me. I never really told anyone what I was going through, but just so that you know, my situation was getting critical where I was starting to get to a point where my health and even my life was at stake. It was a really serious situation. I clearly specified all the knowledge, personality, and intellectual criteria that that person needed to have for them to be able to help me. I was incredibly specific, fully realizing that finding a person like that was like winning a lottery. Just a quick disclaimer before some of you accuse me again of not looking into the 434 community first and asking for help people who are already close to me. The type of a person I was asking for is so unique and specific and with such rare knowledge that in 20 years I haven't seen once anyone who could fill that role. As much as I love all of you guys, it was impossible for any of you to help me with what I was struggling with. But I want to thank wholeheartedly everyone who came forward expressing their disappointment in not being taken into account. You're still an important part of my life and I'm incredibly grateful that you're here for me when I need you. Once I asked Machine Elves for help, the answer came in one simple sentence. Organize meetups. It turns out that the person was supposed to show up in my life once I start meeting all of you again after a 2-year break. As it was still not possible to travel because of all the restrictions at the beginning of 2022, I waited until May with everything being lifted and I started thinking about organizing the conferences. It took me a few months to do this and at the end of September I was ready. There was one thing that started happening around the time I made the request. An enormous amount of synchronicities involving the pair of numbers 3 and 8 suddenly appeared everywhere I would look. Those of you who have been watching the videos here for a long time know that a combination of 434, 3 and 8 is what started my metaphysical journey. So a few weeks later I asked the entities, what's up with these numbers? And they told me that they represent what's about to come and what's about to happen in my life. It's only now that I understand the significance of this synchronicity and the fact that it was actually connected to the person I wanted to appear. I must admit that at one point I completely forgot about what Machinals predicted was supposed to happen, and I didn't really pay much attention to it, being fully occupied with getting you guys into 6 venues in the span of 2 months. Until after one of the meetups, when I met someone who showed me a banknote with a serial number on it that read B43438. Once we finished talking, it occurred to me that this is the person I asked for, and Machinals told me long time ago that synchronicities are a kind of a stamp of approval for me to understand that a given element of reality is their job. Over the next few weeks, as we started discussing everything and interacting with each other, I realized that this person is not only exactly what I asked for, but also much, much more, and that they came with an enormous amount of lessons for me that I didn't even know I needed. The most important thing in all of this is the fact that I've known this person for a few years. But what was really shocking was the fact that this person was no longer the same person I knew years ago. It was a completely new set of skills and personality traits that matched exactly what I requested. The reality related to that person was entirely transformed so that I could receive what I asked for. In fact, the package that that person had to offer was so generous that I received things that I didn't even ask for and didn't even know that I needed. As if Machinals knew exactly what I was looking for, way better than I could articulate when talking to them. At some point I'll make a video about what really happened and who that person is to explain it to you, because it is more magical that I can explain it here. But every time we try to meet, all of our reality is filled with synchronicities and supernatural events. Every time we plan anything together, it is as if reality is being transformed for any obstacles to be removed out of our way. It's like the energy is conspiring for us to make sure that my request is being granted in the best way possible. The appearance of that person and what they had to offer completely changed my life forever, and it opened a new chapter for me. Magical is an understatement when it comes to describing how it happened. I've never seen an example of personal manifestation so meaningful and so accurate as this one, and it profoundly changed my belief and understanding of the power of manifestation, the transfer of energy between dimensions, and the ability for the entities to have an impact on our reality. And this is what I want you to think about. I can't stress enough how important are the examples I provided here for your future development and your understanding of reality. I was able to manifest a human being, and they appeared in my life when I most needed it. It doesn't get more serious than that. If you think that it was a coincidence, I want you to pay attention to the fact that it took exactly 6 months for that person to show up. The 3 and 8 synchronicity started exactly 6 months prior to the event. My mushroom ban after killing a Machinals also lasted exactly 6 months, and the period between the 434 Facebook account being deleted and the new one growing again was also 6 months. It seems that this is the metaphysical time unit for most changes to take place. If we can manifest objects out of water and vegetables, what else can we do? If there is an outer dimensional realm that helps us control the reality, why do we ever have any doubts? In this world, you easily interact with the reality through your thoughts and emotions. What's more, this reality is watching after you, and when there is an intervention necessary, it might help you move to the next phase of your life, or it can even save your life. You're clearly taken care of. To start taking advantage of this metaphysical mechanism, all it takes for you is to start noticing the elements of this earthly reality interacting with you. It is fluid and constantly morphing into the reflection of your inner emotional dialogue. These entities care about your life path, and if you choose to listen to them through the use of psychedelics, they will guide you and help you achieve whatever you desire, very often providing a detailed manual as to how you're supposed to go about your life in a given moment. Never forget that you are a part of the Creator and that you have an innate creative force inside of you. You came here to train yourself in your manifesting abilities while being detached from your supernatural powers and your connection to the Creator. Start practicing today and become the master of your environment. If we can manifest money, events, objects, and other people, what stops us from living the life we want? How many coincidences do we need to witness and experience to start realizing that we ourselves are the creators of our reality? That it's only up to you how much abundance, happiness, and fulfillment you let into your earthly existence in a given moment. and that they are not just your capricious whims, but important tools that you sooner or later will have to ask for to get yourself onto the path of development and growth. I finally realized that the 434 synchronicity and all other ones are a call to believe, a signal to wake up to the understanding that you create and influence your very own version of existence here, and all it takes is for you to accept, understand, and believe in the power of your metaphysical abilities. Love, 434. Thank you for listening, and my personal wish is to manifest your generosity. So if you want to donate to 434, please go to the video description to check all the available methods. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. Like this video and share it with everyone you care about. For merchandise, go to shop.b434.com. Leave your email address at news.b434.com. Visit the website of the artist and the musician I featured here. For more info or contact, visit b434.com and join 434's social media on YouTube, Facebook, BitChute, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Reddit, Discord, Telegram, VK, TikTok, Tumblr, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, and a few other ones you can see on the screen now. All links in the video description and at b434.com.